During this lesson you will be required to fill out a worksheet. I recommend you read through the worksheet before viewing the lesson. In order to give you time to do this, you can use the pause button at the bottom of the screen. Learning outcomes. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to list 9 important points to remember when constructing a fire breast. State the causes of condensation in flue liners. Describe how condensation in flue liners can be prevented. List the 3 main substances produced from burning coal. Constructing the fire breast. 1. It is very important to remember that before constructing the breast, that a DPC should be placed either side of the ope under the piers of the breast at the same level as the DPC on the rest of the building. 2. The piers should not be less than 200 mm thick. The trout unit is positioned between 600 and 750 mm above the constructional heart. The first flue liner should be a straight and is bedded onto the trout unit with its socket up. Questions. List the first 4 important points to remember when constructing a fire breast. When gathering a flue to the right or the left in order to suit the position of the breast upstairs, the angle of the flue should never be less than 45 degrees to the horizontal and is preferably kept at 60 degrees. At no point do we want the flue liners being positioned horizontally in the breast. We have our throat unit, and then we start off with our first straight flue liner. Next we place our first splay. Then we place our second splay. This will accommodate gathering the breast over to the right hand side up into the room above. So the angle is to be kept no less than 45 degrees. 5. As the flue is constructed, each flue liner should be jointed with cement mortar, making sure that the inside is smooth and free from mortar snots. The outside of the flue liner should be surrounded by 50 mm of a damp mix of weak mortar, and the mix should be 1:1:12. This should be filled every time a flue liner is put into position, therefore every 450 ml. This is in order to avoid any air pockets or any gaps. Number 7. Where there is more than one fireplace in a building, it is usual to group the flues together, so there is only one chimney stack above the roof level. 8. Great care should be taken when doing this, so there is a minimum of 100 mm if fireplaces are in the same house, or 200 mm if fireplaces are in separate houses of a mid-feather, to prevent fire spreading from one flue liner to the other. The flue liners from separate flues should never be joined together or built without being divided by a mid-feather. Questions. List the next 5 important points to remember when constructing a fire breast. Condensation in flue liners. This can be an issue unless the filling around the flue liner is placed correctly and without voids or air pockets. Condensation will occur when the warm air rising up through the flue comes in contact with the cool surface of the flue liners. This is most commonly seen in chimneys constructed on the gable end of a house or on the external wall. A method of keeping the flue liner free from condensation is to surround it with a standard mix of 1:1:12 and include Vermiculite to the mix, which has a very good insulating properties. These are 3 photographs of Vermiculite. The one on the left is a picture of it taken further away. The one in the middle then is a bit of a zoomed in picture of the vermiculite, and then the last one on the right hand side there is a very close up photograph of a piece of vermiculite. Questions. State the causes of condensation in flue liners. Describe how condensation in flue liners can be prevented. The products of combustion. As with the fireback, a flue liner must be heat resistant. This is achieved by making the flue liner from fire clay. This is a type of clay containing a high proportion of silica, which is resistant to high temperatures. A flue liner should be at least 185 mm in diameter and have resistance to acids, particularly in the case of solid fuel burning appliances. The 3 main substances produced from the burning of coal are water, sulfur dioxide, and carbon dioxide. When either of the 2 dioxides are mixed with the water, they will produce acids. Sulfur dioxide and water produces sulfuric acid, and carbon dioxide and water produces carbonic acid. Although these acids are not in concentrated form, their continual application inside the flue will eventually harm the mortar and in some cases the blockwork, hence the need for the flue liners. When gases leave the fire, they are hot and contain a lot of steam. As the steam rises through the chimney, it cools. It condenses on the sides of the flue, and it is this black sticky substance that is acid and harmful to the construction of the chimney. Questions. List the 3 main substances produced from burning coal. In conclusion, important points to remember when constructing a fire breast are your DPC, which needs to be placed under each pair of the fire breast before you start building. The jamb on either side of the fire rope has to be at least 200 mm thick. The throat unit should be between 600 and 750 mm high off the constructional heart. You always start with a straight flue. This is to prevent any smoke entering back into the room. If you start off with a splay or a bend first, the smoke can rise, hit the bend and come back into the room. You're going to gather your flue using splays, using your splayed flue, so you're either going to gather them to the left or to the right. depending on where the chimney stack is going to exit. Joint the flues with cement mortar. Fill around flue liners with a weak mix of mortar, which is 1:1:12. Group the flues so there is only one stack. Use 100mm mid-feather or 200mm for separate houses. Condensation occurs when warm air comes in contact with the cool surface of the flue liner and condenses. Condensation can be prevented through proper insulation. The substances produced from burning coal are water, sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide.